Okay, testing. I think we're live. Welcome to my second art stream. Okay, so I'm continuing work on Spectre Comics issue 7, page 1. Over the last week, I was having trouble with this character here, drawing this character. If you saw the last week's stream, this character had a different drawing here, and what I ended up doing this week, I actually just took this character completely out of the comic and I sketched on paper three images, and I got them, well, not that one, but here. And what I did was, because the background was kind of interfering with what I was drawing, and I couldn't really tell what I was drawing, so I needed to kind of get off this comic page, go to my sketchbook, and draw them in pencil on paper. And then I basically took those images, scanned them in. I actually have an app on my phone called Adobe Scan. I just took a picture with Adobe Scan, emailed a PDF to myself, and then went ahead and inserted it into the page in the appropriate spot. So I got the three images. I've got this panel with the captain kind of looking off to the right, talking to the guard behind him, and then reacting to the guard's comment, which makes him kind of blow up down here in the bottom right corner. And then this giving new orders, so this kind of like this side view. So taking it onto paper just made it a lot easier. And now we can go ahead and start drawing the character and inking from these images. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. The captain, the original layers that were here, I've kind of just gone ahead and erased. And now I can go ahead and start inking the character here. So we're going to go ahead and start doing that. It'll make it just much easier now, and I like a lot better the way that the character looks now than when I was just trying from scratch to create this character. So no big deal though, and I think it looks a lot better. And again, I took it to pencils, but now we're going to go ahead and just start tracing on the captain layer. And I'm using, I think, a 4 pixels, no, I'm using a 7 pixel brush on this image, and it just makes it, just to get the lines down, and we'll go ahead and kind of clean it up as we go, but I want to just kind of get it started and work on line weights. And I always kind of work line weights on when I'm drawing. Just makes it easier, makes it look better, it adds some depth to the character when you add the line weights in. But I do that kind of later. Stuff like this, I'm going to use the marquee tool to create a stroke, and then I can get these, whoops, I zoomed in a little too much there. I was going to start this live stream, and last week I was talking about the Bears. It's Sunday night. I thought Sunday night would be a good time to do a live stream, but the Bears are actually playing Sunday Night Football tonight. And I thought it was going to interfere with the stream, but it's halftime right now. Thought I'd jump on and do a quick stream while the game was going on, and just kind of have it on in the background. They weren't doing so good, but last week they started their game pretty bad, and then they came back and won the game. So maybe they can do that again today. So I've just kind of got it on in the background over there. So I make this selection, and I'm literally just tracing. Now I took the pencil image, and before I do this, I'm actually going to take the layer and take the sketch and reduce the opacity a little more, just so it's a little lighter. Right now it's at 64% opacity. Just take the slider down and make it a little more transparent, and then go back to the ink layer for the captain here. I just moved. There we go. Another reason why I work on multiple layers is because it gives me the opportunity to isolate things, turn things off. You look at this bottom panel here, there's a little bit of overlap where this character in the background is kind of reacting to the captain blowing up. You can see his arm's going to be behind, at least in this layer, but when I draw it, it's going to be in front. So I might have to either reduce this character in size or kind of relocate him in the panel. And again, that's why I isolate the character, so I can move him around if I kind of see something in the panel that's not working so well. But going back to the captain here, this close-up of his face, I'm going to take the elliptical marquee, and then I'm going to transform that selection and modify it so it fits in the location I need it. For the lens on his, it's got like half of his face covered with like a metallic face covering, and it's got like an oculus which kind of scans, kind of reminds me of like the Terminator's vision where he scans things in the environment. So we transform the selection here. I'm going to rotate and kind of stretch it a little bit and make it the right shape. And then we'll just apply a stroke inside of it to outline. It just makes it much easier. I was really struggling with this character last week. I was drawing it. I drew it like 3 times during the week. It wasn't working out in this page. So I just took my drawing pad, during the week, and I just sketched out a better drawing. I kind of knew the positions I was going to have him in based on looking at this page a bunch of times, and it allowed me just to draw it in a separate location with nothing interfering. You could see all these lines in the background. It's kind of a lot of noise on the page, which makes it a little more difficult to draw. So let's try a 2 pixel stroke. That's a little too, not enough. So let's try 4. That's better. Now I'm actually going to reduce. I've got the marquee here. I'm actually going to take this and transform it again, but reduce the size of it so that it can create another ellipse within. Kind of get the lens, which is inset into this larger ellipse. So there's kind of like a frame around the lens, and then the lens itself. So I can take that same ellipse, and this one's going to have a smaller diameter. Let's do the 2 on this one. And I'm actually going to move that around. Okay, sorry. I like to have the stream here next to me with my iPad on another one of my channels, just so I can kind of see what's going on. But okay, so now if I zoom in here, I can actually take my polygonal lasso and I'm going to just copy this inside lens to create a little more depth. Hitting the Alt key, I can copy it, and now I can create that line there and just move it there. Now I've got a little depth there. Excuse me. Should have muted the mic for that. Sorry about that. But and now I gotta deselect the marquee, and I can outline that. It actually took me a long time to design this character, and I'm still not comfortable with him, but he's coming along a little better now. The nice thing about drawing him in pencil first and then bring him in is that I was able to enlarge him. When I originally drew him on this page, he was not bigger than the character, and this one still might be a little small. He's supposed to be a lot larger than the regular foot soldiers. I might actually take this image, this sketch, and enlarge it even a little more. I can do that. you know, you can really enlarge him. Plus he's in the foreground, so he's going to be larger naturally. As I said in the last stream, I tend to judge because I'm kind of thinking of the whole page as an entire composition. And so I tend to draw a little bit here, draw a little bit there. A little bit in this case, I was working top to bottom, you know, where I did the first mining facility panel and then the close-up of the tower. And then last week I pretty much finished this page, although something happened with the white screen here. I don't know what's going on there. Unless something got moved. But that's better. So something got moved with the white screen here, so maybe I can move it back into place. I don't know what happened. Might have to fix that later. But I'll just focus on the captain's face right now. And another thing I like to do, actually, is to create a white screen behind it. And then that way I could kind of clean up the lines. And this layer, I think that's layer 14. So I want the screen to be below that, just because it'll help get rid of the background, but not get rid of the pencil sketch. So I'm going to flip the pen to white. Oops. And you know, now we can clean this up in the background a little bit and get rid of a lot of these extraneous lines, which makes it harder to see the image I'm trying to draw. And then we'll clean up the background. Now I do have the character, you can see his shoulders kind of facing to the right, but his body should be, he's in a chair, he's in his throne. And so his shoulders should kind of be, it's like, you know, back with the chair, but then turning his head. So that I got to fix, and I can fix that here while I'm inking. Let's get back to the Gorgo image. I must have moved it a little bit. Let's move it back in place. There we go. So, yeah, I don't know. Another hot Sunday in Chicago. It was like 90 degrees today. It was 90 degrees yesterday. I am looking forward to it cooling down a little bit for fall, although I don't want winter to come. But it was a nice day today. And we haven't actually had rain here in about, I don't know, several weeks. It's been hot and sunny, almost too much sun. And that's coming from a city that gets a lot of cloudy days here, especially in the winter. There'll be 2 weeks in a row where you don't see the sun. I don't like that either. I think that's looking okay. And this is definitely where line weights come in. When I have details in the mask like this, they're really thin lines. I mean, those will be really thin. Right now we're at 6 pixels. I can go down to 2 or 3 for this stuff. I like adding details like this in my drawings. Just adds a layer of texture to these black and white line drawings. Now I prefer to draw black and white because I always liked the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics, which I was a fan of. I always liked the line work in those comics, and they used a lot of like texture, like hatching and gray tones, and it almost looked like an ink wash, like a watercolor with ink in their comics, in the original comics, like the original first 20 issues, the Eastman and Laird drawn comics before they went to other artists. And even though I like that style for that, I tend to keep it a little more clean. So I put some gray tones in the back, like the asteroid here with the craters has a light gray tone. I I might have mentioned this last stream, but I keep these different gray tones in the corner, so I can just use the eyedropper tool to pick which gray tone I want to use. But that way it keeps them consistent. That way there's only 3 different ones. So I know it's either light, medium, or dark gray. And so I put that on every page, on the template of every page of my comic, so that I could go ahead and apply that gray tone to the page, and it's always going to match what's in the book. There's always only going to be 3 in the book. That also includes when I do, I'll do like what I did on the mask here. I added a shine by using the gradient tool, and here I did a radial gradient in the mask, so it looks like that there's a light hitting it. And I like doing that. It makes it look shiny. It adds to the curvature of his face mask, and makes it look a little more interesting, adds some depth to it. Last week when I was streaming, I was really worried about not being able to talk the entire time I was drawing, but I almost consistently talked for about 30 minutes. It does a little number on your voice after a while, but I thought a good idea for when I start streaming is to talk about what I'm drawing, but then also talk about things. Like I actually wrote down 3 topics to talk about, and they could be random things, because nobody wants to join a stream and then you're just not talking to the camera at all. And even if nobody's here, but people might watch later, so you got to kind of keep that in mind. My goal is to talk while I'm drawing, mostly talk about what I'm doing, but then add some other things in, and then just take maybe snippets out of the live stream and make videos out of them. And those could be the videos, because I did want to do more videos of inking and talking about what I was inking. So what I did earlier when I was talking about how I used Adobe Scan to take the pictures I drew. So like this is an Adobe Scan image here. And here, this is the, here we go. So I drew actually the 2 of the images here. The captain here kind of looking, this is the one where he's turning his head. And the nice thing, I was able to take this image and rotate it so that it looks like because here it looks like he's looking down, and I wanted him to just kind of like look side behind him like that. And then this one, he was doing a side view. And in this case, I actually used a blue pencil to do the initial tracing, or I didn't trace it, but the initial sketch. I used a blue pencil, and then when I scanned it on the Adobe Scan app, the blue didn't come out. So I actually had to go back in pencil and add the lines in, so I had at least something that I could see once I brought it into the page here. So looking down here, and I might actually change his hand, but he's now giving direction to this foot soldier back here. And he's standing here, side view, looking out the window still, but giving orders. Now the original one was, he was just yelling and pointing, and I didn't want to do that. I kind of changed his configuration. But yeah. So I liked the idea of having a couple of topics to talk about, just things that are going on. Like I was watching, last week I wanted to talk about The Umbrella Academy. I just didn't realize that there was a 4th season on Netflix, and it just kind of popped up because when I watched the end of the last season, I thought it was over. It made it seem like it was over, and then all of a sudden I see there's another season, and it was okay, but I didn't really think they needed it. But if you saw Umbrella Academy, let me know what you thought of it. I thought it was a weird ending and a little disheartening, I think, what happened to everybody. I just saw Beetlejuice yesterday. Loved the first movie way back when it came out. I was in high school when it came out. It's been a long time. But I thought the second one was pretty good. I've been hearing from a lot of other people on YouTube that the movie was a mess. I thought it was a little more sinister than the first movie. The first one seemed a little more comedy and lighthearted. This one seemed a little more sinister, I'll say. And how they handled Jeffrey Jones was interesting. He's in the afterlife. That was an interesting way. There was this weird segment at the beginning of the movie where they were talking about how I think everybody knows from the trailers that he died in the movie. And they kind of put this animation together of him dying. And I thought that was an interesting way to explain that, since he's no longer with us in real life. But anyway, I thought the movie's good. It was good. I'd watch it again. The funny thing was that there was spoilers if you haven't seen it. Jenna Ortega's character kind of had the same path as her character in Wednesday, with the guy she likes being the bad guy, or being kind of an evil guy. That was kind of an interesting thing, considering Tim Burton did both that show and that movie. It was kind of an interesting way to convey that part of the story. Anyway. I'm starting to add a little more detail in here and starting to shave away. Again, my method for drawing, there's probably a better way to do this, but I kind of like the end result the way I do it here, which is I draw like these thicker lines and then I kind of shave away at them to get the line weight. I know it doesn't look clean when you're zoomed in like this, but when you zoom out and you look at it, I mean, look at a completed panel like up here. I mean, that's done that way, real clean. Especially once you see the gray tones added in. And this top panel probably has a few more gray tones to be added in. I only did the background of the mountain so far, but I feel like there's some more tones and maybe even some shadows that should be added to the mining facility here. But now I'm kind of character focused, trying to get these characters done. This character right here, the captain, is the sole reason this page is taking so long, because I, for so long, did not know how to draw him. And did mention that I was going to rotate his body around a little bit. If he was kind of looking this way, his neck would be like this, and shoulder pad would be like this. That's a little better, I think. This makes it look more like he's sitting on the chair. So this, I actually modeled this chair too in SketchUp. Maybe next time I will show the SketchUp models that I did for these environments. The throne room, the mining facility, the ship here, all SketchUp models that I took snippets of and brought into this page. You can actually see the clips in the background. I just turn those layers off when I'm not using them. One thing I've found that's hard about drawing is having the character not feel stiff. I feel like a lot of times when I'm drawing, the characters look stiff, and I'm trying to actually sign up on a online course for gesture drawing, because I wanted to better learn how to draw characters that felt like they had a little more weight to them, like gravity was, like they were naturally standing naturally, moving naturally. I tend to, as I'm learning how to draw figures and characters better, I thought I was lacking in the ability to make the character feel like they were naturally standing. Even when I'm using a reference image for the body position, I just couldn't get it quite right. So I thought if I took a course that I could improve my gesture drawing. And I thought that would help even drawing cartoons and comics like this. give the characters a little more weight, a little more expression in their body. Now, actually was pleased the way this character in this sketch came out. Actually, how did this get turned back on? Uh-oh, I think I moved something. I think I should just delete that layer altogether. But so I actually found an image of a guy. I searched on Google, guy raising his arms up in the air, screaming, and I got an image of this guy, which then I used as the model for getting this pose down and just applying the captain character to it. I'm still not happy with the hands. I mentioned last week that I do not have. I'm not skilled at drawing hands, and I'm still trying to learn. And maybe I should watch more videos on how to draw hands better. But I might change his hands into fists because he's kind of like expressing himself, like yelling. So his hands open there is probably the wrong expression, having his hands open. His fists closed would be more aggressive. I think I might revisit those hands. I'm really going to be excited to finish this page and move on to the second page. Again, because I started this one a long time ago, and I'm just getting back into drawing on the wrong layer. One way that I select a layer is if you select the move tool and you click on the layer, it should activate the layer that you touch. That's good sometimes and it's bad sometimes. Sometimes you accidentally activate a layer that you didn't mean to activate. And sometimes you move something by accident that you didn't mean to move. But in this case, it's a good way because when I have this many layers, and I don't think, you can't see my layers on the side just because of where my side banner is, but I have a lot of layers on this page. And when you have a lot of layers, it's hard to quickly find a layer. So if you click something, it will automatically switch to that layer if you're using the move tool. Just got to be careful not to move what you were clicking on, because that will make it shift, and that's not what you want, especially if there's other things on the page that are on that same layer and you didn't realize you moved them. Yeah, I think that's coming together. I'm gonna have to spend some time just refining this drawing, but I'm really happy with the way that the pencil sketches turned out, and now that I can take those and apply them to this character on this page. There's not too many more. I think this character. I think the captain, the Ori definitely are in the book more, but the captain's not in it that much. So every time he's in it, I want to make sure I'm drawing him the right way because I just don't get a lot of practice drawing this character. I think I need to add a little bit of white behind him so that I can see a little better without all of the interfering background lines. I just have so many layers on this page right now. I'm gonna have to clean up the next page before I start because there's just too many. That looks better. Makes it look cleaner. can go ahead and do the faceplate of this character like I did this one. Show you how I do that. So the Ori, oops, see what I just did? I selected the layer and I moved it by accident. There we go. Nice thing is that you can usually just undo it and then it'll go back to its previous location. But it will still keep, oh, I think I undid the layer selection too. Okay, so Ori Gray, that's the name of the layer. Again, you can't see the layers and I apologize for that, but my sidebar is blocking the layers. I wanted to really focus on the drawing, not the layers. I do have videos where I talk about the importance of layers, so if you are interested in that, go ahead and check those out. But the way I do this is I will do a marquee on the helmet here, like this. I'll just outline it. I'm using the marquee, highlight that area. Now the Ori lines are the top layer, and right below it is the gray layer. Now I'm going to go and select with the eyedropper tool one of these grays, and we're going to use the middle one. Okay, that changes my color to the middle gray, and then now I can go ahead and use the radial marquee. Now I have it on reverse so that I get a hot spot and then it gets darker around the edges. You uncheck that, the gradient will be in the middle and it'll get lighter as you go out, but I want the opposite of that, so it creates like a shine. And then I just test it and see what it looks like. So that gives me the hot spot here where the light hits, and then it gets darker around the edges. I'm going to do the same with the other panel of the helmet. It gets more transparent as you go to the center, is what I want. Now on this side, because they're two, there's like a line in the middle and there's like two separate lenses, I'm going to do the same thing, pick a hot spot, drag. Now the further I drag this line, the more stretched out it'll become. If I keep the line here, the hot spot will be much smaller. So I want it, and I test and I undo if it's not right. Now here, if you see this, it looks like, let me put some white behind that. You can kind of see it. All right, so this makes it a little cleaner. All right, see, that's pretty good. But what I don't like is the hot spot here does not match the location here. I think it should be a little higher up, so we're going to redo that one. And because I can't simply undo it, I just have to go in and erase it. So I'm just going to do the marquee tool again. I'm going to hit delete, and then I'm going to do the gradient tool again. I'm going to select here and drag. And what I did, I actually forgot to switch it back to gray. So I'm going to select here and drag, and that's a little better, but not quite. I'm going to undo that right about here and drag down. That's okay. I like that. So deselect, turn the marquee off, and yeah, so that's what we're drawing tonight. Still working on this page, still working. It's going to be a little bit longer before I finish this page. I'm hoping in the next stream I'll be either further with this page and ready to finish it and show you what the finished page looks like, or we'll be starting the next page. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you for joining the stream, and we're going to try to do these every Sunday night around 9 o'clock Central Time. So if you're bored and you want to just hang out, join the stream and talk in the chat and like the video and subscribe to my channel. So see you next time. Have a great day. Appreciate you watching. Thanks.